Right, welcome to Third Down Pulled. We're joined by JJJ Cards, who is a bit of a unicorn in the UK, really. One of the only full-time. What would you class it as? What would you class your
I
job
think
as?
I'm just a full-time single seller, really. Trading card single seller, I'd say.
Is that what it is? But
Pretty
yeah,
much, yeah, for
yeah,
the
one
most
of
part,
a
yeah.
handful, especially that has such a social presence. I think.
Yeah, I
But yeah,
think.
so this is Joe. We've obviously met you at quite a few shows and things like that.
Hmm.
So just today is to find out how you got there, the life of a single seller,
Sure.
and that sort of thing, really.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Looking forward to
Yeah, no problem. Let me just. Obviously, Jordan's not here. He's in. I think he's stuck in quick fit or something. So
it.
I'll just fire through. So the first one is sort of the first talking point was really
Yeah.
when did you know you were going to go full time? Is there a certain point where you sort
Yeah,
of knew?
yeah. I get asked this a lot, to be fair. So for those of you that don't know, I worked in the city basically. I had a corporate career in London, post university for just over nearly 2.5 years, just over 2.5 years actually. And I'd always had my business on the side, even through school and university. I never really thought I could take it full time. It was always going to be a hobby. But I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and sort of 2.5 years into my job, I kind of felt like at that point in my career, I was 23. I have no mortgage, no kids, no real responsibilities beyond paying my rent. So the time was sort of now, and as an entrepreneur, I needed to scratch that itch. So it was less of a sort of like, right, I'm going to do it. It was more of well, it was a bit like that, but it was less of a sort of calculated decision and more of like a, right, it's now or never kind of thing. So I thought, why not take the leap, see what happens. Worst comes to worst, I take a year out of my corporate career and go back into it. It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
But we're still here, which is good news.
How, how was it? Was it about a year ago?
Yeah, it was March 20. So I quit my job in February, started this properly in March 2025. So be a year in a couple of months.
How's it been?
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. The first year was like a roller coaster, really. Obviously, when you have it as a side hustle, it's obviously a weekends and evenings thing, and you don't really think about the business in the same way because there's no financial pressure. It's more of a hobby. When it comes into your job and it becomes your job, you suddenly start got taking it really seriously. And when I put my mind to it and actually sort of did that, because I had the time capabilities, I really, really, really started to love it. And the business was growing really well. It is growing really well. Obviously, growing not just the sort of the business itself, but also sort of the social media following, getting to more card shows than I was able to before, so meeting more people as well. And I'm really, really enjoying it. That's not to say there aren't sort of lows as well as highs. I'm sure we'll get into that. And I do try and talk about that on Instagram and things. But overall, it's been a fantastic decision, and I don't regret it one bit. And I'm so pleased I made that leap of faith, really, because I'd be regretting it if I didn't. I think at some point in my life.
Yeah, definitely. It's an unreal world, isn't it? Like, obviously, we're in a bit of a different one, but
Mm.
when before this, I used to fit stairlifts, so it's quite a manual job, quite repetitive. So you compare it to this, and it's a bit like it's not really work, is it? It's like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's fun, a fun industry to be in.
Yeah, I get up most days and think, I'm so happy to be like I'm looking forward to my day. Like, some
Yeah,
people get up, they're like, oh, I've got to go to work, I'm looking forward to the evening. Whereas I get up and like, I actually don't want the work day to end because I want to do more stuff, which is a blessing and a curse sometimes, but it's a real pleasure and I'm grateful for that for sure.
oh, definitely. One thing I was always curious
Mm.
because of it, you do a lot on content, and you obviously at a lot of shows.
Hmm.
Your day-to-day running as a business, because I imagine there's a lot going behind the scenes. I don't know whether
Hmm.
it's eBay or something like that. Do you sell on multiple platforms? Is it
Yeah.
just what we see on the content?
No, you're spot on. So one thing I want to talk about more actually, this year is the fact that people often just see me at shows and doing the sort of £1,000 deals here, £100 deals there, and think, oh, that's what he must be doing full time. Actually, it's not. That is a big part of my business. Don't get me wrong, but I also do weekly whatnot streams, and I've had an eBay store since 2013. So I have an eBay store for over a decade. That's got over 1,000 listings, single listings, over 100,000 cards listed on that eBay store, and that also pays the rent as well. And that is the ugly side to the hobby that I don't talk about enough and want to is literally days where I'm just packing orders all day, or literally ordering cards, or stacking shelves full of new stock. That's generally what I spend most of my time doing. The shows are short stints of intense work, but they're not my
Yeah.
full-time 9 to 5. My full-time 9 to 5 is that behind the scenes foundational sort of eBay store, whatnot, orders, etc.
Yeah, I think one of the pictures I always remember seeing, you sponsored a football club. Is that
That's
true
right.
as well?
That's right. So back in 2021, I was obviously we were in the midst of the I think we just come out of the lockdown, or I don't know. It was like the lockdown boom was happening, and I had the business for a long time prior to the lockdown and COVID. But when COVID hit and the market went up, obviously I was kind of ready to take advantage of that because I was already in the market. And the business grew really quickly. And long story short, I was shortlisted for Young Upstart of the Year on eBay, which was pretty amazing, and came
Yeah,
runner up. And as
yeah,
part of that, yeah, I did 2021, I think. And as part of that, that wasn't this wasn't because of the award, but it just got me that sort of in with eBay. And then following that, I was asked to do some. Well, the story actually is probably more interesting than people think. So I was asked by eBay to do like if they could come round and just shoot some pictures of my setup, which at the time was in my bedroom, and some stuff for some promo, whatever, kind of standard boring
yeah,
stuff really. And then halfway through the day, they'd done all that, and they'd interviewed me for a clip or whatever. They were like, "Okay, we're going to go to a site visit now." But they didn't tell me where, and I was like, "Wasn't what you told me we were going to do, but I'll get in the Uber, I guess." Anyway, we turn up to Plough Lane. I still don't know why I'm there. I think it's a bit random. I think I might be doing like a crossbar challenge or something. And then Dion Dublin turns up, and all of a sudden, just sort of really quickly, they did it really well. I was just filming with him, like I was
yeah,
just talking about my business and small businesses generally. And then halfway through the shoot, completely unscripted, completely off guard. Dion Dublin stopped me and was like, "Actually, Joe, the reason you're here is not because we want to get some promo for YouTube. It's because you are going to be the face of a new campaign, which was at the time between eBay and the EFL. And as part of that, I was able to sponsor Wimbledon, which is which is my local team. One
yeah,
of my local teams, but the local team I support. Um, and so I was on the hoardings, the big TV, the programs for a year, which was absolutely bonkers. I took my parents to a game in hospitality, my mates to a game in hospitality.
yeah.
It was really, really, it was just crazy, crazy.
That's awesome. It's one
Yeah,
thing about the hobby. It's amazing where it gets you. Like
100%.
if you just say yes to things, and like you say, if you just follow along, a lot of the time, it's some weird places, some great
Yeah,
places.
yeah, and the hobby is one of those places, right, where like because this industry is so sort of built on passion and stuff, the amount of amazing stories you hear is like it's fantastic, and because of the crossover between them, especially for me, the things I love selling the most is football cards, soccer cards. We get the crossover with footballers, with YouTubers now. Those opportunities are just going to keep coming, I think.
Yeah, and you've always been a big collector.
Big time, yeah. So that's how I started my business. So the business started when I was in the playground at school. I used to collect the Match Tax albums, Doctor Who sets, whatever was going at the time. But obviously, as a kid, I had £2 a week pocket money that couldn't afford me to complete a set. So what I would do is I'd sell my spares on eBay,
Yeah,
and at the time I was one of the first people doing this, and buy the ones I needed to finish my sets, and that way I could afford to finish a set without having to beg my parents for packs every weekend. So that's how the business started, and one of my New Year's resolutions, to be fair, this year is to start getting back into the set collecting side of it, because that is what I am ultimately, a set collector. But obviously, when you go into this full time, it becomes just a whirlwind of just trading card madness. So you don't really get the time to think about yourself and your own collecting goals.
yeah. I've got a picture from last year when we were the EFL sticker launch,
Yes.
and there's just everything going on. There's footballers walking around, everyone having drinks, and there's just you in the middle of a table just sorting through stickers looking for Wimbledon ones.
I was, yeah, I was.
Everything else going on, you just sat there collecting.
Yeah, yeah, like Curtis Davis and Akinfenwa next to me, but now they can wait. I'm going to go for the Wimbledon sticker.
Yeah, every sticker's just gone. But yeah,
Yeah, I didn't find one as well, which I was annoyed about.
um, one thing I was going to ask you about that: how do you protect that love for the hobby? Now it's sort of it's paying the bills. There's obviously a lot of pressure that goes with it.
Yeah, I'd say I actually don't have an answer to that question because one thing I definitely found at the end of last year, I did also make some content about this, is the fact that I became so burned out with cards and burned out with what I was doing. So I was going 100 miles per hour basically nearly a year.
Yeah,
And I did sort of find like I was starting to fall out of love with the actual like hobby, the hobby itself, and I wasn't appreciate because one of the benefits of selling cards full time is you get to appreciate so many cards without having to spend thousands of pounds of your own money on them in a way.
yeah,
Um, and I wasn't doing that as much, and that's definitely because I became a bit too in my head about the sort of business side of it, meeting my my goals and things. So one of my New Year's resolutions, and I'll keep you posted on this because it's going to be the answer to the question over the course of the
Yeah.
year, is making sure I keep that love for it. And I think that the answer is to do what makes you happy. I think we see a lot of people online and a lot of social media posts about what you should be buying, what you shouldn't be buying. But actually, at the end of the day, if you're a collector, you don't. It doesn't really matter what other people are saying you should buy or shouldn't buy. If you're a collector, it should matter to you what you like. So I love, for example, one of my biggest passions is Doctor Who cards. From when I was a kid, I love David Tennant Doctor Who. I've got the master sets of nearly every single trading card game released when he was the Doctor. But there's still a few holes I need, and I need to fill those holes this year. That's one of my big goals. And that's, no one's going to tell you to buy Doctor Who cards on Instagram. No one's going to tell you to buy Doctor Who cards on YouTube. But that's something that makes me really happy. So that's what I'm focusing on.
Yeah, we do the card cleaning and things like that, and obviously you see that many big cards. I think you get a little bit numb to it.
100%.
You see the same one time and time again.
Yeah,
So,
I was at the. Sorry, go on, Ben.
no, go on, mate, you're good.
Yeah, I was at the Fanatics trade night last night at the Fanatics store in Regent Street, and a couple of people came up to me to sell me some cards, which is great. Obviously, I bought some cards, but then literally me being fully transparent, I spent about £1,000 last night, and if you said that to someone in the street, I just spent £1,000 on a whim without planning on doing it on cards, they'd be like, "Holy moly, that is insane." And it did sort of hit me that, like that's a lot of money in relatively speaking, that is a lot of money. And you're right, like if you don't take some time to sort of reflect and stuff, you can you get trapped in that sort of whirlpool of these huge numbers for basically what is just essentially cardboard.
Yeah, exactly. Just someone's writing on it, and there's a little number in the corner.
Yeah, it's precisely.
It's absolutely mental. I always find myself collecting weird things or things that remind me of like childhood and things like that. So like Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. Anywhere we go, I always seem to pick up something that
love it.
I've not quite seen before.
Love it. I think that's how to do it, because that is what collecting is really. It's finding things that make you happy and you find interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, going into sort of like the business side a little bit more. We've seen your videos where you sort of, it's a deal every 4 minutes, a deal every 10 minutes, that sort of thing. Firstly, how do you do it that quick and that long?
Yeah.
Like London Card Show is a long day as it is.
Yeah.
Like we've got a team behind us, so we can always like nip off for 10 minutes. When it's just you.
Yeah, I mean, like without sharing too much information, like sometimes I am holding in a wee for like 4 hours.
It's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's a great question. That I've never really thought about it like that. I think, firstly, what some people probably don't know is that I've been going to card shows for now like 5 years. So I've been to every single London card show, every single one except I think one or two, since its inception, which was a tiny little sports hall in I can't remember where it was now, in some random place in the middle of nowhere, basically. That comes with experience, to be honest with you, and trusting yourself more. So at the start, I would doubt myself in the middle of deals way more because I was fairly new to it and it was something that I hadn't anticipated or really you can't really plan for. It just sort of happens. And so I would doubt myself, take longer checking comps, spend time like mulling things over. Whereas now I don't really have that luxury because time is money at these shows for me. And if I spend 20 minutes dilly-dallying, then I'm wasting time losing buyers who are waiting at my table to do a deal with me, who then go off to one of my competitors, basically. Yeah. So I've learned to be quick and trust myself and trust my gut because 9 times out of 10, if I trust my gut, it works out because I've got that experience and that knowledge. Yes, it won't always work out 100% of the time, but you need to take the wins with the losses. That is just part of the hobby. And so I very much see it as I don't need to nickel and dime every single person because I'm doing so many deals that over those 20 deals, I'm doing better than if I'm nickel and diming people on 5 deals in the same amount of time. Yeah. That's how I see it. And it's something that you have to learn with experience. There's no other way of doing it. And you will feel overwhelmed and stressed at times. But you will also feel a sense of real achievement when you go home from a London card show, for me, for example, and you've got, you've replaced your whole inventory, you've sold most of what you had when you arrived and bought lots of new stuff for future shows. And then if you have the luxury, I'd encourage you to go out to an international show, because when I went to the National last year, and for those who don't know, the National is the biggest card show in the world, and I was doing deals, and you have this image in your head of all these Americans who are sort of slightly more, on average, better at this than we are. And I was holding my own with those guys. I'm like, well, if I can hold my own with these guys, I can hold my own with anyone. So that's kind of those factors combined really. But basically, the short answer is experience.
Yeah, you've got to take a few losses on you to
Yeah,
learn those
I
things.
still I still make bad decisions now. But if I'm making, as I say, like one bad decision out of 20 deals, as opposed to 5 deals I do well, I'm still doing better on those 19 other deals than I am on those five. So I don't need to sort of lose sleep over those bad deals. But at the start, you will, and that is just part of it. Like I did a post literally yesterday on Instagram saying how my first 2 London car shows I vended at, I actually lost money when I included the hotels and the tickets and the food and stuff. But what I gained from those was obviously wealth of experience and learning the market because there's one thing looking on Instagram and hearing what people are buying and looking on YouTube. There's another thing being in a room and seeing what people are asking for, seeing what's moving quickly at your showcases, and you can start to notice trends and things like that.
Yeah, you touch on every point I've got in about 2 sentences there. Every question I've got is right there.
There you go.
But yeah, it's like one of the ones. How do you use Whatnot as a tool? Is it sort of a clean, or is it sort of everything after you've been to a few shows? Do you put them on? Is it something you buy specifically for?
Yeah, I disagree with the idea that Whatnot is for cleaning up inventory you don't need. I buy specifically for Whatnot. I have a section of my shelves behind me which is just Whatnot stock that I don't take to shows. I don't put on my eBay. They stay for Whatnot. I think actually live selling is going to just grow, and one of the best things about Whatnot is you can grow a community, and I've managed to grow a fairly decent community on Whatnot. I get decent viewers and stuff.
Yeah,
And that's because they appreciate the fact that I bring them good stuff. I'm not just bringing them the scraps. And one thing I think people think about when they think about live selling is that people are just selling off their spares. Some people do that, and that's their call. It's up to them. But I like to actually have specific stuff for Whatnot. And one thing I do to give you an insight into my business is a big thing about live selling is people doing pre-bids. I don't do pre-bids. I've never done a single pre-bid in my life. I only bring what I have to the show. There's no forewarning. No one knows what's going to come to the show. But because I've got that reputation as bringing good stuff, I bring in those people because they know that I've got that good stuff. That wouldn't happen if I was selling off my scraps.
no. So that's you're almost curated to your audience on there.
Correct. I know what I know. Obviously, I know some of my buyers now. I know what does well for me. I know what doesn't do well for me, and I know what people are after. I can buy that stock and tailor that to that audience specifically in the same way that I've got a different audience on eBay and a different audience at card shows.
Yeah. So it's almost when you pick something up, you're buying specifically for those.
Yeah.
You
So
turn that into a deal. So if you see a bulk deal, you will know exactly where things are going before you buy them.
yeah, one of my biggest tips to anyone looking to do this full time is never buy stock without knowing how you're going to sell it. Because basically, what then could happen is you end up sitting on that stock for too long. If you don't have an idea in your head of how you're going to sell something, then why are you buying it? Basically, so whenever I leave a show and come home and I've got all this new stuff in my suitcase, I'll have a pile for the next card show, a pile for Whatnot, and a pile for eBay. But eBay is a small part of the stuff from shows, really. Normally, it's shows and Whatnot, and then I'll split up my show stock into sort of higher end and lower end. Um, But I put way more effort into my Whatnot than people might think. People just think I sort of turn on my camera and show some cards that I have. But no, I spend a long time and a lot of effort curating that stock for Whatnot by going through big lots at shows and buying big collections on Instagram and so forth.
Yeah, I imagine if you get the numbers, it's obviously been well received and people are
Yeah,
respecting it. But
yeah, I think it's a combination of the streams are people who enjoy the streams, and also I have that outside um, following anyway. So I can bring some of the people in, and then they know who I am already. And obviously, Whatnot's a great place to connect with me. If people enjoy the content, like, for example, and they want to connect with me, Whatnot's a great place to do it because I can talk to them live and sell them cards live and talk about cards live. We had a massive debate in my stream last night about whether De Bruyne or Gerrard, no, De Bruyne or it was De Bruyne or Kaká who was better. That was the debate.
yeah,
I fall on the Kaká side, but most people said De Bruyne. But then that's the sort of like community that I like. That sort of thing
yeah.
is great.
Does that come from sort of your past job as well? Was it political or politics?
Yeah, yeah. So I
So
worked in political consultancy prior to this. But basically, my job was to help corporate clients achieve political objectives, whether that be engaging with Parliament or so forth. And yeah, a lot of that whole industry is built on relationships. Politics basically is built on relationships. It's not about, it's not really about having followers or anything like that. It's about being in the right rooms, being in the right places, speaking to the right people. And you can use those skills for this industry for sure. That's also why I mentioned yesterday in my post that I still miss my corporate job sometimes, and it taught me a lot about what I'm doing now because there is no substitute for face-to-face interaction. People come to people because they like that person most of the time, and you can offer the best percentage rates in the world, but if you're difficult to deal with, people won't come back to you. So it's also about building up the community and that reputation piece.
Yeah, it obviously works. Very rarely see anyone say a bad word about you.
I appreciate that. That means that someone has because you didn't say never.
It's probably Chris, I imagine. If I say
Yeah, yeah. Always Chris, isn't it? It's always
yeah,
Chris.
either that or Jordan. Uh, but yeah, one thing going to sort of like you mentioned you don't put like the scraps on whatnot and things like that. What do
Yeah.
you do when you do have scraps? How do you combat sort of cards that you lost money on? We've all been there where you've bought a card high, comes
Yeah.
out low. How do you work with that?
There's two parts to that question. I think the first part is in terms of the scraps. Like what I like to do is have flick throughs at shows.
Yeah,
So I will. I think one thing we don't have in the UK that we do have in the US is good value flick throughs for most like a lot of people I see go through the flick throughs and will be comping up every single card in the flick through. And to me, that's a waste of time because if you're going to do that, then there's no point putting like the flick through for me is an easy, cheap way to get rid of stock for someone else to try and make some money off of. So what I'll do is I'll put it all in for £1 or all in for £2, knowing that there are £5 cards in there, £10 cards in there if you're lucky. But on balance, I'll get back roughly what I paid for that stuff. And most of the time, I take the scraps, knowing that I'm not going to make money off of them. I take them to get a bigger deal over the line. In terms of the cards I lose on, I think taking a loss is actually a skill that some people don't need to sort of learn because sometimes, for example, at card shows, I'll get someone come up to me and be like, "Look, I know this is worth 70 quid, but I paid 100. Can you offer me 100?" And that's just not going to happen. Sometimes you need to understand that taking a loss is actually a benefit to you because you take the loss, but then you've taken the lesson as well, and you can redeploy that money, albeit it was less than it was before, into a better card or into better cards. So people need to take losses. I think taking losses is part of the game, and being able to do that and understand when to do that, and that it's part of it, is a valuable skill.
yeah. That goes back to almost when you're doing your deals, you don't have to get every penny out of the deal.
Yeah, yeah,
It's that sort of knowing when to do that and when you can
yeah.
when you push it. It's something I think I struggle with it a little bit.
Mm,
Chris is the guy that does the most deals and things like that, and he's very
mm.
good at that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
it's something I the amount of cards I made a loss on it sort of too much.
To,
Um,
to give a great example of that, like I went to Dublin a few months ago to buy a massive collection, and most of the cards were like £50 and above. So you are going to comp those out individually. And there was this big list of cards, and a couple of them I was like, I kind of disagree with that. I think that's actually a bit lower. But I'm not going to spend my time arguing over those two cards when I'm buying 100 because I'm doing well on the 98 ones there. It's just not how I do my deals. It's not how relationships work. Because if you do that, it's just going to rub people up the wrong way eventually.
oh, massively, yeah, definitely. Going back to sort of like the national and going over to the US,
Yeah.
and shows in general, we see quite a bit of you going internationally to, well, firstly going to sort of, was it Seville?
I went to
Uh,
Spain, yeah, and Poland
yeah,
as well.
Spain, Poland. How do you deal with that when there's the language barrier?
Well, so I speak a bit of Spanish, and my girlfriend is Spanish, so I brought her over, and she was my translator for the day. So that one was all right. Poland was more difficult because I don't speak Polish, and it's not like a super English speaking country. There are people that speak English there, of course, but it's not super
Yeah,
English speaking. Whereas most Spanish people know, roughly what you're saying if you're speaking in English. But generally, I think it kind of like if you like come across as like a nice person, you're willing to try. Most of the time, it works itself out. Like you can use a calculator if you need a specific word. You can use Google Translate. That's the beauty of your phone and stuff. Plus, also as well, like if because we have it, it's because it's a great community. Like the amount of times when I was at the Poland card show, for example, and I was trying to do a deal, but they weren't quite understanding what I was saying. The amount of times they'd just be like to their mate, "Oh, like, buddy, come over here because you speak English. Can you just help us translate this deal, and then they do it. Like it's not a big deal for most people. I think just like back yourself with the community, take someone with you to help at those international shows if you can, because they're very scary to do them on your own, especially when you don't speak the language.
Yeah.
I took my brother to Poland, took my girlfriend to Spain, and it would have been quite daunting to be fair, Poland on my own without any support.
I can imagine. How was the actual show itself? How was it
Um,
compared to sort of like the UK shows?
Yeah, so those shows really are buying shows because they're slightly behind the UK in terms of the liquidity of the market and the value of the market. Like the average sale for a card in Poland and Spain was way less than the average sale of a card in the UK card show, in my opinion. But what you do have when you go over to one of those shows, or at least I have, is buying power because there's not that many people in the room that have money to spend to the level that I do. So I can kind of go around and some of these dealers are making, like £10, £20, £30 sales, but I can go up and be like, I'll offer you 80% on those two £500 cards. And because obviously they've made not loads of big deals that day, I have a bit more buying power in the room. So that's what I use those shows for. Plus, a bit of it is strategic as well. Like, for example, at Spain, that was a week before the London Card Show. So I bought specifically for the London Card Show and was able to buy basically in Spain and then sell in London at at better margins in the UK, to be honest, and have the experience of getting to see another country as well.
Yeah. What's the card selection like?
So it's genuinely lower end. Like it's more sort of £50 and below, but there's also a lot of like people going with big binders and people filling in sets of like 20p cards. So it's a lot of set collecting there. Like
What is it?
yeah, there was like half of the tables in Seville were like albums and albums and albums of Adrenaline and Mega Cracks and stuff like that, and people were just picking out the ones they needed and then buying them for like €1 or two, which is really nice to see. I was also on a walking tour of Seville on the first day, and there's this like little market square, and they have a weekly thing every Sunday where they all come with their Mega Cracks albums for the current year and all do swaps every Sunday,
Yeah.
which is just goes to show the difference in their culture there. It's a lot more about like the sort of the old school hobby where it's about sort of filling in your binders than it was about flipping autos and one of ones and stuff. That is obviously happening now. I did some really big deals in Poland, buying a lot of old modern stuff for quite expensive. But those deals are sort of much more sort of you need one or two to make it worth the show. It's not like every deal is that level.
Yeah. Is it a lot of? Do you get a lot of Premier League things? Is it sort of UCC?
Yeah. Tailor your market for sure. Like, obviously in Poland, like they absolutely worship Lewandowski, but like, even like Fabianski cards, were doing really well. Any Polish player was doing really well because obviously that's the majority of the market there is Polish collectors. I bought some Premier League stuff and it didn't do well at all, but then it all sold in London the next week.
Yeah.
Whereas the UCC stuff does a bit better because obviously that's more European, pan European. So definitely tailor your market, and I did that for Spain. So I did much better in Spain because I basically predominantly bought La Liga cards.
Yeah. That's right. One thing we did Card Madness a few years ago.
Yeah,
We took everything out, so we took like the Kurt's cleaning kits, everything like that,
yeah.
and they lost a suitcase.
No
So
way.
yeah, so it was the first time we really vended at a card show selling cards.
Damn.
So we had two tables just sort of sat there. We thought, oh, we might as well put some out, and we're majority NFL mainly
Yeah,
at the time, especially, and we'd been fitting too many boxes, and we just put the cards out. And
Yeah.
I've never seen cards go so quick.
yeah. That shows a bit of a bit of a really becoming a really big show in the card show calendar. Yeah,
It looks. I think it was the first or second one, but it just seems to get bigger every time.
yeah. As is every show basically across across Europe. The Sevilla card show is now going to be it's double in size compared to the one I was before. Yeah, and obviously we're seeing all the shows in the UK grow as well. London Card Show XL is not that far away. That's going to be massive.
Are you vending?
I am. My biggest ever table set up for that one. I will have helpers at that one as well, thank God.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have some really exciting plans for that one as well. So keep your eye out on the socials on my JJJ Cards and that card page because there's going to be some really exciting stuff happening for that show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Can't wait.
I think everyone's looking to show what the UK can do. I think.
hmm
I imagine knowing Harry's probably got a lot up his sleeve from the US. So
Yeah, I think it'll be a real advertisement for our hobby in the UK. That this show, I think, will do a lot of good. And I think people will be surprised if they come into the UK for the first time at how strong the market has grown in the last year or two.
Yeah, it's running it. It's absolutely
It's
flying.
running, yeah. Like I remember back in the day, at some of my first London card shows, you could go to three London card shows and not sell a card, whereas now I barely leave with anything I bring, which is, that level of liquidity increase is just crazy, really. But it's obviously great as well.
Oh, it's been for you to be full time as well. That I
Yeah,
think that shows the scale of the hobby and where it can go as well.
100%, 100%.
So going back to sort of like the shows abroad, how do you travel with the cards?
How
Do
do I
you,
travel with the cards?
yeah, because obviously, do you take flick throughs? Is it just high end?
So
How do you?
yeah, flick throughs are a London card show exclusive, really. I don't bother doing them at other card shows because I don't have that many scraps to be honest with you. But
Yeah,
plus, I have the more table space at London than I do at most of the shows. Other than that, most of the other card shows I go to are, I would say, mid to high end. So the average price of a card probably be around 100 quid
yeah,
on my table. But I predominantly use the smaller shows to anchor the bigger shows. So I was at the Midlands card show on the weekend, just gone. I use that to basically build up my inventory for London card show coming up in next month.
yeah.
And I'll use other smaller shows like that to do it for the next London card show or the next America card show. Um, so that's kind of how I travel with cards. But I think flip throughs are a good way to go if you're looking to start.
Yeah. So I mean, like, also going abroad with them. Sort of when you
Yeah,
go
that's
to
the question. Yeah, so going abroad, obviously you can't. You need to rent the showcases. That's a big thing.
yeah,
I've got a Zion case which I took to Poland, and I remember when I took it to Spain. Obviously, if for those of you who don't know, you always get stopped in security because they're like, "What on earth is that?" And this guy that the security guy that like was looking through my case was like a big card guy, and he brought over like, all his colleagues, and it was so embarrassing for me. I had like six security people just like looking through my showcase. I was like, "Can you be careful with that, please? That's worth a lot of money." But I couldn't tell him that because he was working for the airport security.
yeah,
But they do sort of know what they are now. Like I remember when I went to Poland. My bag obviously gets dinged and goes into that aisle. They check it, and then she's like, oh yeah, it's the cards, it's fine, go. So they've had it before clearly, but that is definitely an added risk and something you need to factor in, like security, knowing where everything is at all times and everything, and just being sensible. Like the amount of times I see people, especially in America, just like walking around with like wads of cash in their hand. It's like just be careful because that is just not very not a great idea.
no, I think it's from our side as well. Now we're doing more and more cards. Before we opened the shop, we barely did cards as sort of at shows. It was always like just rip a couple of boxes and bring it
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
The special logistics of going abroad and taking cards with us, it's always a bit like, especially
Mm.
when you're going through like customs and things like that. You're never quite sure what to say, are you? Like,
No, 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 and as well, like, oh, what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say now. Um, Especially when you've got like, a four-figure card or a high four-figure card, for example, like you can't really go around advertising that. You just got to be very low key about it, and especially in like Chicago, because obviously in America, the border people always like grill you on why you're there, and when you explain to them that you're there for a car show, it just makes you look really weird. But you've got to be honest. You've got to be honest. There's no other way around it, really.
nah, that's good. So,
Yeah.
as someone from the UK doing majority of football, how do you find the American sort of side of it? How do you find the national?
Yeah, I loved it. It was probably one of the best experiences of my life. I'm not even being dramatic. It was amazing. I went with some of the UK guys. So I was there with Harry from the London Card Show, GBW, and then HJA and Ronnie as well, RP. So it was a group of us that went together, and that was definitely worth it. I think going on your own would be a lot more sort of daunting, but going in a group means that you kind of have each other because you're all in it together for the first time. It was for us. It was all the first time except for Harry. Um, For me, like it was very good business wise. I sold a lot of cards on the last day. Didn't really want to take all my cards home. I walked around the national show floor and just sold loads of my cards to different vendors because they pay very strong out there because there's so much competition. But also, it's quite inspiring from a non-revenue standpoint. It was very inspiring because I was able to sort of see these much bigger businesses, these much more successful businesses than me, and it gave me a lot of room, a lot of motivation to try and emulate that and actually beat it. I want to be one of the biggest single sellers in the world, not just in the UK, eventually. And to do that, I need to compete with Americans. So it was very inspiring in that way. And it was very, as I mentioned before, it was very confidence boosting because it made me realise that I could hold my own in probably what is the most difficult card show to navigate in the world, because of just the level of people there and intensity. And I was set up at SoCo, the Soccer Expo, in the evenings, and had a great time there, made some great deals. So yeah, it was both confidence boosting. It reinforced my sort of belief that the hobby is going to continue growing, and inspired me as well. And obviously I met some great people as well.
Yeah, it must have been, especially, it must have only been a few months into you.
Yeah, it was August, so it was like less than 6 months. And also a big thing about the national and American shows in general is you need to plan for those. I think some people just turn up shows with whatever they have in their room at the time, but for the America shows, like you need to spend time curating your stock and bringing a lot of it because it will just sell. And if you don't have stock to replace that with, you're going to be in trouble. So I'm vending at the actual national show itself this year, and I'm going to have to start preparing stock for that months in advance. I mean, 3, 4 months in advance. I'm going to have to hold back stuff for it if I want to put on a good show for the national people. So that's something that you need to be conscious of for sure.
Yeah. Are you purely putting together football, or are you?
Yeah, for now I am. I do a bit of like Disney and Star Wars and things, but predominantly football. Yeah, I just don't like American sports. I don't watch baseball. I don't watch American football. I don't watch basketball. I know who the good players are. I know what players move and stuff, but I'm not. I don't. I never trade in stuff I don't know. And like, I remember like for example, like I was offered a downtown. I can't remember the name. I think it might be Jalen Hurts or something downtown at the last middle of the Midlands card show just gone, and I know from knowing cards that that's a good liquid card because I think he's a quarterback. Maybe make it up. Is he a quarterback?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I know he's a quarterback. It's a case hit. He's a big name, but I have no idea if he's good. I have no idea if he's like going to be transferred or if he's going to be if his team is even in any of the like good playoffs or whatever they're called. I don't know anything about that. So if I can't talk about how good the player is going to be, I'm not going to risk my cash betting on the player when I don't know the player, even if I know the card. And also as well, the national is doing a soccer only section this coming show. So I'll be sort of I'm there to establish myself as one of the biggest soccer sellers. Really.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Especially, it'll be a couple of weeks after the World Cup.
It will, yeah, literally. It's going to be an intense period. It's going to be there's the Fanatics Fest, which I don't think I'm going to go to, and then 2 weeks after that, it's the national. Yeah, so America's going to be busy, very busy, busy, busy. I think there'll be some people out there that'll be out there for like a month.
Oh yeah, it'll be a mad few weeks.
Yeah, it will.
Imagine hype will be if it's a good World Cup, things go a certain ways. There's going to be a lot of hype around it.
For sure, for sure. And there's just going to be more awareness. I think right now the only players that Americans know is Ronaldo, Messi, and Neymar. But some of the American players will obviously do well at the World Cup. America might have a great World Cup. They're not they've got a decent team, and that could really, especially because it's in America, it could really send things spiraling. Because what you've got to remember is, everything that happens in the UK, we're sort of 10 years behind America. America is the leader. It's the biggest market. It's the trendsetter. So everything we do is sort of in their footsteps. So they will guide us on that. And if there's hype from the Americans for soccer, then we are in for a good, exciting few months.
Yeah. Is that where you look for if you're looking to plan your business and things like that? Do you look across the US?
I wouldn't say no. I'm still more UK focused right now. Like learning card shows and the other card shows in the UK. There are some obviously other bigger ones as well. But yeah, going forward, if I want to grow more, then yes is the answer to that question. Yeah. But right now, like you can go to Dallas, which was last week, for example, and you can pick up soccer for fairly good prices because there's not that many people looking for it. And like I saw in someone's video that there was like a Wayne Rooney Prism Color Blast for like $700, which is if you can get it down to $600, you're making a good money on a player that they probably haven't even heard of, but is one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit like if you pulled that Jalen Hurts, it's just sticking to your case and not.
Exactly, yeah.
So, how are you received by people in the US? As someone from the UK that doesn't have quite the profile, how did you find the?
Do you know what? I was pleasantly surprised. Obviously, I'm not a just for full sort of like disclaimer. I'm not a big influencer. I barely call myself an influencer. I have I have less than 2K subscribers on YouTube. I have barely 5K followers on Instagram. But I was actually really, really pleasantly surprised by the amount of people that had seen my content over in the States, because there are people out there trying to understand soccer and learn it, and who are people who are interested in other markets. Plus, I got to meet people that I've been speaking to online for years, but never met in person. Like I remember the first night there was a trade night in a hotel, a soccer trade night, and I got to basically shake the hand of these like 50 different people that I'd spoken to for years on Discord groups and various things. So it's actually really special in that way. Plus, they're all sort of potential business partners as well. You can sell to them and buy from them. So um, I found that really good. There definitely was a bit of trepidation from me because it is kind of scary. Like the Americans are a bit intense. They're sort of some of them are sharks, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But like as it is in the UK, right, 9 times out of 10, people are just nice. And if anything, I'd say actually the US people are generally easy to deal with because they understand that as a vendor, you're not going to be buying at 100%. You're going to be buying at 70 or 80 or 90,
Yeah.
and they understand that like people you both need to win. They all know what comps are. They all know what card ladder is. Whereas we're still a bit behind that here in the UK for some people.
Yeah, they know exactly what they're playing with. It's very transactional a lot of the time, and this is what a comp is, and then it's boom, this is what we paid, done.
Yeah, and that leads to quick deals. Like, right, where's worth 500? My offer is 400. Done.
Yeah, we were sat in the VIP room upstairs at the National.
Yeah, told was very good.
Yeah, it was. So we sat down like. It's one of those where we were a bit overwhelmed, so I just got to sit down for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Put the case down, and we had a queue of people next to the side of it, like by the side of it, just wanting to buy. It was like, they weren't bad. It wasn't like people seeing someone from the UK and going, I'll offer you 50%. It was like, right, this is a comp, this is what I'll buy.
Yeah.
Like I say, Chris is the one that usually buys and sells. I think even I can sell that pretty easily.
Yeah. It's a seller's market there. Actually, it's more of a buyer's market here. It was the same for me. Like I remember I was in the queue for a table to sell some cards, and there was this guy standing next to the queue, being like, "Can I see what you've got?" I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, mental.
I know.
What was the content side? Did you get much content while you're out there?
I got a YouTube video, a couple of YouTube videos out of it, and I was posting whilst I was out there. So every lunchtime, we came out from the Nationals to take a break and have some food. I'd do a post like, "This is what I bought today," or "I got a card back from PSA, a Messi, for example." I tried to post whilst I was out there, but the short answer is not enough because it's just so intense, and it's one of those things which you think in your head, "Oh yeah, I can get a great video. I can go up to these buyers and these tables and buy some great stuff." But when you're actually there, like there's 12 other people trying to buy stuff at the same time. You have to queue to give the cards to them, to pay them for them, and you just can't get content as a result. Really, you need like help, and that is not cheap.
No. Is that something you're looking at? Because one of the questions I'm going to have is how is it as a one-man band?
Yeah, well, that's something I'm looking to change. So I've got a few freelancers that help me, but I'm basically a one-man band right now. The plan for the year is to definitely change that and grow out a team. I think I'm very lucky to be in the point where I can start to think about that sort of thing, and I need it. Like for the Excel show, I'm going to need it. The YouTube videos that you guys might have seen, I film myself with a tripod and a camera, but that's barely doable, and that's me like exhausting myself to the point of just exhaustion on the day. It'd be much easier if I had someone doing that for me. So there are plans to change that for sure, and I would say knowing when to hire is a big thing because right now, obviously, it's been for the most part fine. I did sort of burn out towards the end of last year, but knowing that that needs to that I will need to change that at some point is important.
Yeah, coming out of the burnout and still wanting to do it's always
for sure. If anything, it's helped because in the long run, like it's given me it's reminded me of like what I need to do and what I should avoid. Like I wasn't exercising as much as I normally do. I wasn't eating as well as I normally do. I was like not even going for but I used to always go for a walk before I start work because that was sort of instead of my commute which I used to have from my old job. And I stopped doing that, and it's just like the small things start to go when you're becoming a bit burnt out, but you bring them back, you get that routine back, and you can sort of get yourself back on track. At least that's what I did.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things with when it comes to success, the better you do it, and we're having it in the shop at the minute. we seem to be hiring quite quickly.
Yeah, you guys.
And I think it was before Christmas, and like me and Chris were just arguing with each other. There's shows after shows, and it's like,
Yeah, I hear
I
you.
forget why you're doing it.
I hear you. I hear you.
Um,
I hear you. And yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Basically, and because we're both business owners, you feel like you have to be constantly working because every minute you're not contributing to growing the business, and you're therefore wasting your time. At least that's how it sounds in your head. But
okay.
then you end up burning yourself out on what would have been better for the business if actually you took a break and went away for 3 days and then came back to it because yes, you haven't been working those 3 days, but then you're in a much fitter, better state to be working for those next month than you would be if you just power through it. And I definitely did that at times.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I have got a few questions from Jordan.
sure.
Speaking of people we've taken on, a few of them. So obviously he's come in a bit of an odd way coming through break. He was a breaker before he's been to a card show.
Mhm.
Like,
That's crazy.
then he's come to the shop, and then yeah, it's a bit going a weird way around. But he's absolutely loving it. I was saying before we came on, before he came to the shop, he was watching your content, and he's a writer by trade. So his day job is a writer. So he always has something on the background. And a lot of time, it's your content.
Oh, thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that if you're watching.
But yeah, he's got a few of them. So it's with him being new, he's still learning the art of Facebook deals,
Yeah.
eBay, things like that. What are your red flags for when it comes to a scam? How do you protect yourself
Um,
from things like that?
always pay goods and services on PayPal or through any protected means. Never pay friends and family. Um, I've been burned before. We all have really. One thing I look out for is um, photos with different backgrounds. So if you get like, let's say someone's trying to sell you three different cards, a Modric, a Kaka, and a De Bruyne, but all three of them look like they've been taken at a different place at a different time. That sometimes is a red flag for me because it just looks like they've sort of taken them from maybe the internet or from another Facebook group. Ask for coined photos if you're worried about that, and also don't trust your gut. Trust your gut. The more you do it, the more you'll know if there's a red flag because you'll be able to feel it. And it's when you ignore those red flags because you want a good deal that you end up tripping up. And I've done that before. I've done that recently, actually. That's a story for another day, but I've done that recently. And so just trust your gut and don't. The chances are because of the industry we're in. Unfortunately, this is just part of the game. Is especially on Facebook, you might get scammed.
Yeah.
Take it on the chin, learn from it, and don't think about it too much. Go look forward instead of back. Learn from it and look forward because we've all been there. We all feel like idiots, but at the end of the day, it's happened to all of us. And if it's happened to me and you, it's probably happened to most people. So that's what I would say. And having a decent profile will help you out with that because I'm less likely to be scammed now because if someone wants to scam me, they'd know that I'd have the platform to basically be able to call them out, and they wouldn't want that. So that helps as well, having having a good reputation.
Yeah. Just going back to obviously educating Jordan and that. How would you explain coining to somebody?
Yeah, so a coin is basically if you let's say I'm trying to buy a Kaká card, but I'm not 100% confident this guy owns the card. What I can ask for is for him to write his name, the time, and the date on a piece of paper and put it next to the card and take a photo of it with the card. That way, I know that he's got it because he's put his name next to it. He's got it in hand at that time because he's put the date and time next to it. It's quite common on Facebook now, asking for coined photos. If you ask someone that, they'll know what you mean, but probably. It just gives you that extra level of satisfaction. Like in a deal I did recently that might have gone wrong, and that's again a story for another day. I didn't ask for coined photos, and then I asked for videos once I started to get worried about it, and he couldn't provide them. And straight away I'm like, okay, that's a problem. Like why can't he just send me a photo of the cards if he's got them? So ask for that up front if you're nervous, especially if it's higher end. And also if you lose out on a deal. Because you're messing around asking for them for a coin or whatever, don't worry about it. You'd rather be safe and sure in your first 10 deals than miss out on a good deal but be scammed. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just take your time and don't. There's no pressure really.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Another one he was asking, he's wanting to start doing content and things like that as well.
Yeah.
He's ventured into that side. How much of your brand is it quite recognisable now, and everything is blocked about. How much do you reckon is due to the cards, and is content a part of the reason for the success, or is it just an extra side?
No, I think it's definitely part of the reason for success. People, as I said before, I think people buy from people, not just from because the card's good. Like most vendors at a card should have good cards. What makes someone choose one vendor over another is probably because they want to meet that person, or because they've dealt with them before, or because they like their content, or because they've come across as a nice person. So that's what I would say is content is a huge part of this, especially given the fact that this hobby is pretty much lived through social media. You're sort of losing out if you're not utilizing that, as is any business in this day and age, but especially in our hobby.
It's one thing we're trying to emphasise quite a bit on as well.
Yeah, I've noticed. Like you guys are ramping it up, aren't you?
Yeah, you can't ignore it, really, can you?
No, you can't ignore it, and just start as well. That's my biggest piece of advice. Just start. I think I actually told Keyboard Kits and Cards that just start, because your first 10 videos, 10 Instagram posts won't be your best. They just won't. Yeah. But you won't ever get sort of that. You won't ever get going if you don't just start. There's always something you could do better. But you won't start to learn what people like and what people don't like without just getting going with it.
Yeah, it's always the hardest bit, innit?
100%, hardest bit. Like, what will my friends think of me? Like, no one cares what I have to say. But yeah, and also be patient though. Like, it's taken me years to get to where I am now. I've been uploading on Instagram and YouTube for years, and Dan will tell you this as well. Dan, Sports Cards UK, who I often set up with and film content with. Like, we've been going for years. We first met the London Card Show 5 years ago. That's where we made one of my first videos. So it takes time, especially now when there's more people doing it. But you'll never get anywhere if you don't start.
Yeah, I think we had the conversation with Keebles, mentioned him, sort of what people think outside of. You've almost got two lives, haven't you? You've got your life in the hobby and you've got your life outside.
Yeah.
And it's that. All I always seem to find is when you start mentioning to your friends, or collect cards, or I'm opening a shop, or whatever.
Yeah.
They always take the mick a little bit, and then after a few months, they're always like, oh, I've seen this, and then before you know it, they're in the shop and doing the deals with you.
100%, and that was the same for me. Like, I first started doing content at school, which is obviously high risk because everyone's just at school. Everyone takes. Can I swear on this podcast or not?
Yeah, you good, mate.
Yeah, at school, everyone's obviously taking the piss out of each other and being dickheads, basically. So it's a high risk place to start content. But like, this is the thing, right? Like, people took the piss out of me, but then I got the Wimbledon sponsorship deal, and everyone was like, "That is so cool, Joe." But that all came from the content and the business stuff that I was doing in the evenings and weekends. So it's cool until it's not cool until it is cool. If that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly that. One more question we've got from: how do you stay confident when the sales aren't there?
That's a good question. I think sometimes, like, I'm a big believer that most of what you do is sort of in your control. Like, very, very rarely is it caused by something else. Normally it's because you've bought the wrong card, or because you screwed up a deal or whatever. But sometimes you're just unlucky. Like, I've had times where like, I've bought a card that I thought, oh, that'll sell within within an hour of my first London card show, and then 2 London card shows later, I've still got it. I'm like, hang on, am I losing my mind here? Like, have I just, and then it will just sell. And then, for example, I had a lot of Arsenal cards sell recently that I'd had for a while, that I bought thinking they'd sell quite quickly. It took me ages to sell, but I still did well on them in the end. And it's just about backing yourself and being patient. I think, like, social media will make you think that everyone is flipping cards within 5 minutes of buying them for thousands of pounds profit. Most of the time, people aren't doing that. They're making maybe a 50, 100 quid here, there. And sometimes people are sitting on cards for ages, for years sometimes. So don't believe what you see online when it comes to that sort of thing. Just trust in yourself, trust the process, and trust your gut, which we talked about already, I suppose.
Yeah, when we first started buying for the shop, we thought it was brilliant because we were buying everything, and we were buying them at, like, good prices on comms. So, like, we thought we got a bit of a bargain if you're picking a card up for 60% of comms, or 65. And what, bargain? We'll take that. You need to find the person willing to spend the money on that card as well.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain cards in there that we walk past and we'll just rip each other for.
Yeah.
Right?
If you buy a card which is lasts over £10 or £6, but that card never sells, then you're down £6, whether it's worth £10 or not.
That was one of the lessons we could learn quickly on that one.
Yeah, same, and you will if you get into this full time. It's just part of the process.
Oh, Oh, massively. We've got a few questions we ask every guest.
Sure.
So one thing is, what's the one card that got away?
Oh, one card to go away. That's such a good question.
Yeah.
I never really had one of those. I mean, being really honest, I kind of always get one.
Got everything.
Yeah. One card that got away. I guess I've sold cards too early. Like for example, the at the national, I had a Messi 2014 Prism Blue World Cup PSA 9, which I think I sold for like $4,000, and then it sold for like £5.5 2 weeks later. So I've had that. I've had that happen before. I think that my worst decisions actually have been selling too early, not missing out on buys. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's always a tough one, when to buy.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in taking the profit if it's there most of the time. So I don't really hold cards unless like they're really special. So yeah, that's probably the big one. But there's been a few others as well.
The other one is, what do you think is going to be the biggest thing in the hobby this year in the UK?
I think it's gonna be content actually.
Yeah.
So I think this is the year which will help make or break you, as a content creator in the UK. We're going to see more people coming into the space just across the board, and if 10% of those start making content, 5% making those making content, we're going to have a lot more content creators. The space is going to become a lot more convoluted and competitive, and so it's sort of a now or never moment. I think if you want to get into the content side of the space in terms of just getting involved and getting going with that.
Yeah, perfect. And then, so last week's guest even was Ben from the Manchester Card Con.
Yes.
And we asked him to give one question. He didn't know who it was for. So
Even Bartlett style.
Yeah, it was one thing you would change for the UK for the better. One thing you would change for the better in the UK hobby.
I could have predicted Ben might ask a question like that. To be
Yeah.
fair. Sorry, repeat the question for me, Ben.
One thing you would change for the better in the UK hobby.
Oh, that's such a good question. I think there's so many things I could say here because there's so many things that could improve. I think people being more transparent. I think sometimes we're afraid, and I'm guilty of this at times. Sometimes people are afraid to admit they made a mistake, to admit they've made a bad decision on a business deal, to admit they got something wrong. I think honesty is the best policy, and if we were all more transparent and went open with each other, then people would feel more comfortable in the space. And I think at times we get, and this is just true for the UK, but also the US and the world really, is we get a bit sort of get a bit competitive because that is what collecting is at the end of the day. It's who's got the best collection. So yeah, a bit more transparency I think is probably the answer to that question.
Yeah, perfect. And then last one for you really.
Sure.
What's the long-term plan?
Yeah. So long-term plan is to grow big. Really.
Yeah.
As we've mentioned, looking to hire this year. So keep your eyes out on socials if that's something you might be interested in. Looking to attack more card shows than we ever have before, travel to more countries than we ever have before, and work on some quite interesting campaigns with some various different brands as well. So that's all happening this year. It's going to be a really good year. I'm really excited for it, and looking forward to sort of just. The Midlands Card Show was the first card show of the card show calendar for me this year, and it was great to get back into the swing of things. I'm looking forward to London in February, which will be my next show, probably.
Perfect. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Putting you on the spot as well, one more one.
Go on.
When we get you up to the shop? When you come
I need to get up to the shop. It's Yorkshire way, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty far for me. But I promise I'll come down.
We'll get you there at some point.
Yeah, like the next time there's a Yorkshire car shop, I promise I'll come down to the shop.
Yeah. I'll take
Yeah.
that. I'll just that.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, one more thing I've got. One
Go on.
question for the next guest.
One question for the next guest. What is holding you back from going into the hobby full time?
Perfect. That's all good. So yeah, that's it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I appreciate you having
I'll
me.
drop the links in the
It's been a lot of fun.
No, I appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you, I imagine, a couple of weeks at London.
Yeah, I might be at the Birmingham one, the Birmingham Yorkshire collaboration one, but that would just be walking around. But yeah, if not London, for sure.
Yeah, we'll see you then. And yeah, JJJ Cards and that cards.
Cheers, Ben.
Catch you a bit.